Hello, my name is Jacob Abbott, and today I'll be presenting our work identifying an orally distinct phrase set for text entry techniques. That was done with myself, my co-authors Jofish, Kaye, and James Clawson. For our study, we used the 500 phrases developed from Mackenzie and Sogrove, and instead of presenting them as text phrases specifically shown to participants, we used text-to-speech systems to present them as audio to each of the participants. We used 4 different text-to-speech systems, 2 specifically from Windows operating systems and 2 from Mac operating systems. And I'll present each of these here shortly with the phrase,
"Take a coffee break."
from David.
Take a coffee break.
Samantha.
Take a coffee break.
Tom.
Take a coffee break.
And from Zara. So take a coffee break as an example. We recruited 392 participants through Amazon's Mechanical Turk. And participants were presented 5 batches of 10 phrases each. From the 392 responses, 42 were removed for a total of 350 participants. Of those, 17,421 phrases were transcribed, averaging 49.77 phrases transcribed by each participant. Our first attempt at analysis was looking at the minimum string distance for each of the responses across the different voices. And we found that by looking at these, that there was no strong difference in between the different groups. And we classified comprehension errors as those that had a string distance higher than 5, as that was the case of an average word length. We found that error types were fairly consistent across the synthetic voice groups, with entry errors being observed between 61 and 66%, while the comprehensions that were calculated between 16 and 20% across all 4 groups. This breakdown was calculated just based off of the minimum string distance. But when we took time to actually go and look further into the types of errors that people were making, we went and looked into reading all the actual responses that people made. We developed a code book and definitions based off the different error types. So we came up with definitions for different errors for comprehension, entry, space, compound break, contraction, dialect, numeric, addition, and omission errors. Different example types based for each of those, such as reading is difficult versus breathing is difficult would be a comprehension error, whereas an entry error would be misspelling guest by omitting the U in guest. In this table, we went through and counted all of the observed errors for the 4,329 phrases that had any errors. Of those, we recorded the type of error that was coded. As you can see, comprehension errors were ranked as the most encountered error, ranking as 44% of all errors encountered, with entry errors being the second most common at 20.78%. When we also looked at these across the different phrases, we found that 96 phrases had no comprehension errors compared to 404 phrases that did. From these, we pulled the 96 phrases out to conduct a second study. For this one, we recruited participants through Twitter and Discord who were visually impaired and or blind. From the 226 participants, we had them transcribe 4 batches of 12 phrases from the 96, and we got 146 responses that were removed from either being bots that were responding, so people were not fully responding in English, or were copy and pasting responses that did not actually match up with the audio transcriptions at all. So that left us with a total of 80 participants for 3,840 transcribed phrases. This time, all participants completed 48 phrases per participant. When we looked at the errors that we found in the second study, we found that 92 of the 96 phrases had no comprehension errors. Only 4 phrases actually encountered comprehension errors. So instead of having comprehension errors be the most common error type of the 916 observed, this time entry errors were the most common, being observed 29.48% of the time. The second most common error was omission of missing an article such as an, or the, followed right after that by addition errors of adding an additional a, an, or the. Additional considerations that can be drawn for these for implications is with thinking of creating new phrase sets. Potentials that can be drawn from this is avoiding names, such as from the phrase set, we found that a lot of participants had trouble spelling Goldilocks or Freud, for example, that were included in the phrase set. Another option is words with variations of spelling by dialect also posed a problem in some sets. So color or color. These are examples that are easy to identify in the analysis section, but need to be decided upon beforehand. We suggest weighing the use of pop culture references, such as movie quotes or song lyrics. We found that some participants had problems with these examples, such as "You are not a Jedi yet," or "Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry." As many responses showed that these examples to be difficult for participants to enter correctly. This work also contributes 92 phrases of the 500 from Mackenzie and Sukroff that are orally distinct. Additionally, we suggest considerations for future use of Mackenzie and Sukroff set, such as some phrases may benefit from updating or omission, such as, for example, handicapped people need consideration, or never too rich, never too thin. Some of these phrases could be considered problematic in our current culture and could benefit from either being updated or omitted from future use. We contribute a set of 92 phrases for the text entry community that were found to be transcribed without comprehension errors from being read through text-to-speech systems. Our findings additionally identified a variety of types of errors that were encountered by participants in transcribing phrases and contribute an error classification and definition codebook for analyzing these errors and suggestions to prevent or reduce their occurrence that we hope other researchers can use in the future. Thank you very much, and please feel free to contact me for questions or future discussions. Thank you.